All right, what's happening, everybody? It's your boy Akeen, and welcome to the Franchise Sports Talk Fantasy Football Blog. We are here in part 2 of my top 20 running backs. Now, there's a lot of big changes with my top 10. I had a big leap for one particular player, a surprising player, because of a big injury that we just saw in the preseason with one of my top 10 players, and I had to back him up. Now, I'm going to start at number 10. I switched things up with Frank Gore. I decided to bump him up to number 10 over Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings. I was actually going to put Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson at number 10, but decided to bump him back because of that knee injury. He's still recovering. He's not fully practicing with the squad, so I'm not 100% sure when he'll be ready for this particular NFL season. He should be ready by week 2, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm not giving you a fact, but I just don't think he's going to be ready for week 1 of this year, and because of that, I decided to bump him back at number 11 and put Frank Gore at number 10, making him cracking in my top 10 list. At number 9, I'm going to go with Darren McFadden of the Oakland Raiders. Yes, he had just over 600 yards rushing last season, but he was phenomenal for the short time that he played last year. And I think if he stays healthy, which is a big concern for just about every running back on my list, I think he could be an effective player, and he will break the top 10 this season. He just needs to stay 100% healthy. He has the speed and he has the talent, and we all seen that big burst the year before last year when he rushed for over 1,000 yards, and I think he can get another 1,000 yards this year. He just has to stay healthy. At number 8, this was my big jump. Chris Johnson of the Tennessee Titans. I had to jump him at number 8 because of the big major injury of Ryan Matthews of the San Diego Chargers. I was actually going to put Matthews at number 9 this year because I think he's a good running back, but he ended up breaking his clavicle and he will be out 4 to 6 weeks. So basically for the first month of the season, he will not be 100% available. So one player in particular that you should look at, especially in the mid rounds, maybe in the first round because of that first month, Mike Tolbert, the backup running back for the Chargers, the human pinball. He had 8 rushing touchdowns last season, and he is that goal line back for the Chargers. I think he will be a great addition for that first month, and I think he could give you some good, valuable backup points, maybe even a true starter points at that. So I had to bump Chris Johnson at number 8 because he is that workhorse for the Tennessee Titans. And like I said, most of these running backs are coming back from injuries and even had to deal with contract disputes. And Chris Johnson did have his off season, but he is under a big contract. He is 100% healthy, and I think he is due for a big season. At number 7, I'm going to go with Steven Jackson of the St. Louis Rams. Now, this was another injury-prone player. He suffered an injury last season, but he still rushed for over 1,100 yards and had 333 yards receiving, but just 6 total touchdowns. He just needed to boost up those touchdowns, and he should be able to crack the top 5 as well as stay healthy. He's a big back, a captain of this team, a true leader for that offense. I think he could be due for another big season, another 1,000-yard season. He will definitely give you some good starter points. At number 6, another injury-prone player, Matt Forte of the Chicago Bears. Now, this guy is very talented. He had just under 1,000 yards rushing and 490 yards receiving. He is a good all-purpose type running back, a good receiver outside of the backfield. Now, because of that knee injury that he's still somewhat recovering, he should be 100% for week 1. I think that's why I had to boost him back at number 6. He is one of the top 5 backs in the National Football League, and he is, in my opinion, the most valuable running back in the National Football League. He's a good receiver outside the backfield. He can give you those good tough yardage. He is a true workhorse, and he is probably, arguably, the best blocking running back in the National Football League. He did deserve that $32 million contract, $8 million for the 4-year deal. I think that was a decent deal. I believe he would deserve more money if he had stayed healthy, and I think he deserves at least $10 million a year because of his ability to block and protect Jay Cutler. At number 5, I'm going to go with Atlanta Falcons running back Michael the Burner Turner. Now, he is not a receiving type running back. He had just a little bit over 100 yards receiving last season, but he is a true workhorse, and he's a big-time goal line threat in red zone situations and in goal line. Like I said, he had 11 rushing touchdowns last season to go along with 1,340 yards rushing. He is a burner. The only only thing that questions the big question mark for him is that we don't know how much is left in the tank. I still believe he still has a couple of good seasons, 1,000-yard seasons, a couple seasons left in him. I think he's a good running back and very underrated. At number 4, a little bit of a surprise, I'm going to go with MJD, the Maurice Jones-Drew of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was thinking about cracking him in my top 3, but because of this contract dispute he is having with Jacksonville, I had to bump him back at number 4. But he is in a phenomenal, one of the top running backs of the league, top 3 in my opinion. He led the league in rushing with 1,606 yards, and he had 374 yards receiving with 11 total touchdowns. He would definitely crack the top 5 this upcoming year, but the reason why I had to back him up was because of that big contract dispute. Now at number 3, I'm going to go with Arian Foster of the Houston Texans. This guy had over 1,800 yards in total yards from the scrimmage, and he was injured for some of the season and splitting carries with Ben Tate. And I still think because of those stats, he could be due for bigger numbers this year if he just stays 100% healthy. He proved his point. He proved his mark. He proved that 2 seasons ago it wasn't a fluke when he led the league in rushing. This guy is the true deal, and he deserved that $43 million contract. At number 2, I had the big dispute of who should be number 2 and who should be number 1. But I decided to stick with LaShawn McCoy at number 2 of the Philadelphia Eagles. He had over 1,600 yards rushing and 20 touchdowns. He's a big home run threat, and that's why I had a hard time debating if he should be number 1 over my number 1 player, Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens. He is the biggest threat on offense for the Ravens. He led the league in total yards from scrimmage, over 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. I think he could be due for a big season, but he is another player who is having a contract dispute. Yes, he is signing the tender, but that big contract dispute is a little big question mark that a lot of people have in their head. Is he going to have a big performance this year? We don't know. And plus, because he's such a good running back, I believe that he deserves a big contract deal as well, because he's been working hard for that Ravens offense, the top weapon overall. Now, I have a couple of honorable mentions need to talk about, starting with Shawn Green of the New York Jets. There's no more LaDainian Tomlinson. LT is gone, so Shawn Green should be leading that running attack for the New York Jets, but they did pick up Terrence Ganaway. I'm going to keep an eye on him. Smash and Dash of Carolina Panthers, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. I had to name them as my honorable mention. These two work well together, a good tandem in the National Football League. I think one of them is at least due for over 1,000 yards. Keep an eye on them. And obviously Trent Richardson of the Cleveland Browns. The reason why I decided not to put him in my top 20 is because he had knee surgery on a knee that he had a problem earlier this year back in February, and now he's having knee surgery, and I thought he was going to be the workhorse for the Cleveland Browns, but because of that knee surgery, and he's going to have to do just a little bit of rehab to strengthen back that knee, I don't think he's going to be ready for week 1 100% of this season, probably for the next first couple of weeks of the National Football League year. So I had to not put him in my top 20, but he is an honorable mention. And last but not least, DeMarco Murray of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he was the mid-season NFL MVP. Seriously, especially with that big performance against the St. Louis Rams where he rushed for over 250 yards. In the middle of the year, he had a big season. Now, the problem that we have here is his longevity, his durability. He is not capable of staying 100% healthy for 16 games of the National Football League season. And I think because of that, I could not put him in my top 20 as well. He's been very health prone. He gets hurt very easily, just like he did back when he was an Oklahoma Sooner. But he's still a good honorable mention, and I think you should look forward to him in rounds 4 and 5 for your drafts this upcoming year. Now, my sleeper of the year, I actually have 2 sleepers in hand for you guys. Starting with Tampa Bay running back Doug Martin. Now, they do have LeGarrette Blount. He's a good bruising running back, average over 4 yards per carry, but he is not a receiving running back like Doug Martin. Doug Martin can give you that second dimension as a receiving running back. He was a good player overall at Boise State, and he reminds a lot of people of Trent Richardson, but even being a better receiver and a better blocker, more valuable. And I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picked up a good running back late in the first round. And my second sleeper this year from the Indianapolis Colts, Donald Brown. Now, he actually raised my eyebrows a little bit last season, starting with that first game against, coming towards the end of the season against the Carolina Panthers, where he posted 15 points. I was like, okay, he finally having a good game. But he had a bigger game against the Tennessee Titans when he rushed for over 50 yards, 161 yards to be exact, and running the football. And because of those two big games, I've definitely started to see a little bit of spark of what he had back when he was a Connecticut Husky, when he rushed for over 2,000 yards in his junior year at college. I think he could be due for a big season, and I think he's going to be the premier back up for the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm going to go with both Doug Martin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Donald Brown of the Indianapolis Colts as my sleepers for the 2012 fantasy football year. So that wraps things up with all my running backs. I'm going to catch you guys later on today to begin my top 20 wide receivers. Thank you for watching today's vlog from Franchise Sports Talk. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.